podcasts. We have a really cool panel here for you today. Stay tuned. Before we get started, as always, I'd like to thank Flagship for their support and their sponsorship. If you have not checked out Flagship yet, I strongly advise you to do so. The topic we're talking about today, part of it's going to talk about market sentiment. And if you've been paying attention, the market is heating up, and Flagship is what you want to check out. This is going to be the way that people crypto from here on out. Not everyone's going to be a degen like us. So I encourage you to go check it out. Check out the Discord. We got some cool articles coming from the Bitcoin outpost in the stacks. I'm sorry, in the Flagship outpost. So check it out, and we'll just go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming today.
Yo, good morning.
How you doing, mate?
Thanks for having me.
This is really cool. When I was talking to the producer about what to name this episode, and I wanted to name it The Big Picture because it really has everything when I think of just a crypto project in general, right? We've got the expertise, we've got builders here, we've got market sentiment, we've got marketing expertise. So before we get started, I want to go around and just give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And so we'll start with CMP. Good morning, man. How you doing today?
I'm good. First and foremost, awesome to be on the show, the podcast. Thank you so much for the invite. And this is amazing. My name is CMP, Christopher Perceptions for long, but CMP for short. Been in the space since 2016 is when I read the white paper by the person formerly known as Satoshi. And it really changed my life. Being able to see what's possible by way of creating a fair system. So from the standpoint of 2016 to present day, built some products, some services to Web3 startups. And I found out about Stacks roughly almost 3-ish years ago. And that's my journey into going to be the orange and purple pill person. So a little bit more on that later, but that's a little bit about me.
Fair enough. And I understand you've written a book recently, and I want to get into that here shortly. That's very exciting. Harry, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, man?
Cheers, man. And first and foremost, it's amazing what you're doing with the ecosystem and pulling kind of creators and builders together. It's awesome to see. I've my story is like kind of any entrepreneur, I guess. I've been building businesses since I was 16 years old, gone through the whole process, the whole cycle, and kind of landed in the world of marketing with my first business. It was an online how-to business, 25,000 views every single day, and then built a store in the back end, partnered with a PLC in the UK, and then kind of just rolled into the next one. I mean, I think I'm at business 8 or 9 at this point. We currently have I think it's six current projects that we own and run. And look, I wrote a book 3 or 4 years ago, best-selling book in the marketing space. Been speaking all over the UK and Europe with kind of growth hacking and marketing techniques. And I fell into the Bitcoin space at a networking group in 2016. This guy just said, buy Bitcoin and you'll thank me later. And from that point, I've just kind of been in this hole of doing my kind of entrepreneurial journey to buy more Bitcoin. I'm completely over-indexed in Bitcoin. And then when it came to Stacks, I was at Bitcoin Miami last year and accidentally walked into the Bitcoin, the Stacks ecosystem room. met some really cool people, and then just chilled it like crazy. And then literally March, I decided the tax system in the UK is too high. I'm bored of paying too much tax. I think the West is falling, and I just picked up my bags and moved to Dubai. And the idea was to just chill. I'll be honest with you, it was to 3 or 4 years relaxed, take as much money out of the system tax free as possible. And I got chatting to some people over here in the stacks ecosystem, and they were like, "Look, Harry, mate, if you're building something, if you're a marketer by trade and you're a builder, you can't not do anything at this moment. You have to do something." And that's kind of how I decided to get kind of more into the ecosystem.
Yeah, you are for sure a serial entrepreneur, and from the serial entrepreneurs I know, they typically start in at around 16, 17 years old, and yeah, you just can't rest on your laurels. I get it. I understand your archetype. And Pulscer, man, thanks for coming on. You got anything you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, firstly, man, thanks for having me on. I mean, I'm not so much an entrepreneur as these two are. I actually know Harry in real life, and he's a great person. He's an incredible entrepreneur, and yeah, it's going to be good having him on this show. But I mean, realistically, man, I'm a Bitcoin buyer and I'm a price action trader. That's just what I do. I don't build brands, I don't build businesses, but I am a lover of the space. That's why I'm here. So it's yeah, I mean, I'm going to contribute on market analysis and things like that, but I'll leave the I'll leave the entrepreneurship and building to the two gentlemen we have here. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man, because it really does all slide together, because I see so many teams who pick the wrong time of the market to start unleashing, their what they've been working on. And then there's no hype, right? And so then you have communities that are like, win marketing, win hype, win, and it's like, look, man, nobody's paying attention to this stuff right now. I mean, you've just got the diehards. So I mean, someone who's a price action trader, I think as more people come from Web2 companies and into this space, they have to learn that dynamic, because that's not going to change for a while, as far as I can tell. The hype is going to follow price action, period. It's not you're not going to have very much hype without the price action, because you need eyes on. So I guess when we get started real quick, you've made some really cool calls here, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because it's so hard to get a following on Twitter, regardless of the quality of your content. You have people who just put out absolute garbage for content with 1 million followers or something obscene like that. And you've actually sat here. If people had been paying attention to what you had been putting out there, they could have really taken advantage of some good buys, good sells too. So why don't you tell us a little bit, without giving away your secrets or your favorite techniques. How did you see this play out like this? Because I back in November like 18th, I was like, okay, this is the bottom. And this is in bottom for Bitcoin turned out being like November 20th. And I based that largely off of price action paired with actual sentiment on crypto Twitter. So what did you use to really make these calls you've made recently? What did you notice? Or
Yeah, no, it's I mean, first of all, I've been trading actively for around about 5 years. I post my trades on Twitter all the time. I think I've got 200 followers or something like that. So for me, it's not about that. For me, it's more so sort of self accountability and just so I can track where I went wrong, where I went right. So it is nice to get the sort of approval from people on Twitter when trades come off. But I mean, don't get me wrong, trades don't always come off. It's literally a zero sum game. You are not meant to make money trading.
right.
It takes a lot of years to even become profitable in the first instance. So it's a very difficult game. These accounts with millions of followers and things like that are I mean, yeah, I mean, you summed it up perfectly. The content is very trash, to be honest with you. Anywhere I see diagonal lines drawn, I instantly block that account. It's literally a meme line used by market makers to fool the dumb into losing their money. It does help with trend formations in terms of trend breaks and things like that. But if you're trading using diagonal lines, your account's going to zero. But essentially, in terms of finding a bottom, I mean, if everybody could find the bottom, there'd be millionaires. Or even billionaires. It's really signals. I think you hit the nail on the head. Market sentiment is a really big one. Once you start seeing the feed go extraordinarily bearish, like we saw on the 25k or the break of the 25k move, and I'm not even going to lie, that did trump me slightly. But back in, if we take this cycle for example, you take a real stubborn level such as 20k in 2017. It's a really notable level, that one. If you pair that with things like the FTX capitulation and capitulation events like this, where the price gets pushed under a real stubborn line in the sand for where the price needs to be, you pair that with a capitulation event and then the price doesn't start going lower than that, you can generally have a good indication of where you are with that, paired with timing in the cycle as well. Also gives you that indication that you could be nearing a bottom. This market, against a lot of other markets, the market makers, they do use manipulation quite a lot. So where you have a stubborn level like 20k and you break that level, it's pure manipulation of the price rather than an actual trend break. So it essentially traps people in short before bouncing back up into the range and then continuing that on. So it's really difficult, to be honest with you, Jack, to actually figure out where a bottom is. But like you said, market sentiment, capitulation event, I would say the nearest to a capitulation event we had for the 25k break was the Binance news, which conveniently dropped and pushed us down to that lower level. And then we bounced off the 25k level. And we actually had a bit of manipulation below 25k. I think we went to 24/7, and then we ultimately bounced right back up, and we went on this send now. But volatility right now is really low, in my opinion. Right now, the big move is actually yet to happen, and we're sitting at 30k. So I really do think there's a lot more to come from this move, and I don't think it's driven by any narrative around the ETF. So, I mean, to answer your question, realistically, there's no way to specifically identify a bottom. You have to put a few components together to paint the best picture that you can paint. But once you start seeing capitulation events not take the price any lower and you're around a major support, it's a pretty good indication that you should be bidding in that region for anybody, whether you're a trader or you're a long-term holder. It's a price you want to accumulate Bitcoin at, definitely.
Yeah, I when I first got involved in this space, it was actually just trying to learn how to trade, and I think most people get their first couple trades, they wind up with some beginner luck because why did you start trading all of a sudden? It's because of price action and volatility, right? So you get that beginner's luck, you're like, this is easy, and then you get wrecked. And I spent the entire bear market 2018 2019 just getting wrecked, and and so I learned a lot. But I do encourage everybody, trading's hard, but you need to at least try to learn resistance and support. Find your resistance, find your support, and it gives you a good idea of where you should be buying when you're looking to invest. I think bare minimum, that's almost a necessity, and then how far you take it from there is up to your own risk tolerance. CMP, man, tell us what's going on with your Secrets of Satoshi book. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, well, I started in the space in 2016, as I stated earlier, and I had a little bit of a tech background, been an entrepreneur, similar to Harry, pretty much since I could remember. Around the age of like 16 is when the entrepreneurial bug really hit me. And that's when I decided to just go all in and create wealth, not only for myself, but also for community. Fast forward learning about Bitcoin really changed my life. But again, I understood two things. I knew that it was going to change the world, but they also needed to be frictionless entry pathways and exit pathways. And all of that starts with education. So I remember going on Binance, and then if I wanted something, I needed to go from this wallet to Coinbase to Binance to this wallet to this crypto ATM. And it was a very cumbersome process, even for someone who was slightly like had a technical edge. So I spent some time formulating this idea, and this book actually is the culmination of 2-ish years of work. Did a campaign with this actor person that me people may know. His name is Hill Harper. Been in several movies, and he loves Bitcoin. So him and I decided to do this campaign called 100 Days of Bitcoin, where I did 100 days of content on TikTok and Instagram, and we broke every rule. Didn't have trendy music, didn't have crazy flashy filters, but ended up just literally being me, a camera, black and white, grayscale, and teaching people about Bitcoin, because I wanted to test and see were people interested in this. And 100,000 organic views later, it's like, okay, people are actually interested in this. So rather than doing short form video, decided to package this up into something that could move a little quicker. Servers can go down, but books are generally hard to get rid of. So that's where the idea of the Secrets of Satoshi came from, to be a guide for people who are new into the space, especially with the forthcoming bull cycle that everyone's kind of anticipating. Builders who are building now, entrepreneurs who are creating companies now, are going to be the ones that have the greatest edge. If you consider it, like, we're front running $1 trillion entities at this point. The common man or the common person or the common woman, front running trillionaires. So it's really, really interesting. And I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to learn about this. So the chapters are structured in ways where it's almost like an encyclopedia of Bitcoin. It's like, what are DLCs? What is a blockchain? What is Bitcoin? What are vanity addresses? What are .btcs? What are Bitcoin layer 2s? What is stacks? So all of these different things, people can get answers for exactly what they need, and then they can continue on their journey. Because of course it's the do your own research, don't trust, verify. And it's written in that format. And I'll also drop a little alpha here as well. I'm working on a kid's version of this also.
Nice.
So going to be illustrative and teaching kids about Bitcoin. I have 2 daughters right now. They're playing, watching Paw Patrol, and they already know about Bitcoin. But I want to take it a step further. If they truly our future and the next generation, we need to teach them not only stewardship, ownership, but also the ability to combine both of those concepts by self-custodying Bitcoin. So definitely practicing what I'm preaching, but that's kind of the long story short of the journey.
Dude, you said so much in that we could spend an hour just picking that apart. The first thing you said, it reminded me of something that actually my wife said last night. We have one of our kids, a little bit older than yours. We started a while back. Is getting ready to go to Italy, and my wife was like, there was this registration form she had to do, and it was strictly in Italian, right? And she's someone she's extraordinarily smart, and she plays around on her Duolingo and all, and she's like, I did it. She's like, but I was so nervous because there was $300 on the line, and if I did this wrong, I might lose the $300. And that made me think to what it feels like when, even to this day, if you're an old hat in crypto, if you're a crypto native, and even to this day, when you're making a big enough transaction, wallet to wallet or wallet to exchange or what have you, you still get nervous, right? You still, I'm gonna check my address, I'm gonna make sure. And that frictionless part, from the very moment I joined this space, that was one of the first things that stuck out to me, was this has to be made a little more intuitive, a little more user friendly. And then you hit on the next part of education, which that's everything, because as you're in this space, you start to learn that when you really start diving into Bitcoin, not just the technical parts of it, but why it exists in the first place, this is an educational journey. So hats off to you. This is incredible what you're doing here, and I wish you the greatest success with it, because it's extraordinarily necessary going forward. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and that's really cool, man. And real quick, Harry, I wanted to ask you, because you've been in the marketing game and a long time, and you've created all these businesses, and so I want your, and I know you'll do this, so but I want your unfiltered opinion on what you think of crypto marketing in its current state.
Do you know what the funniest thing you said there is? You said unfiltered opinion, and I know you'll do this. My whole career has been me saying things out of turn. Like my business partner's literal job is to filter me and don't say that. Say it like this. Like literally in every single, like literally, I was on a call yesterday with a business partner, and he was literally sat outside the room, shaking his head and messaged me on Slack, and I was saying things I shouldn't say. So my unfiltered approach is the same in all aspects of life. Look, the reality is, I think, and I'm going to say absolutely, you say some people might get annoyed by what I'm about to say. I think a lot of the big Bitcoin brands do marketing pretty well. Like, the Binances of this world, the Casa of this world. I think they do marketing pretty well. I think the Stacks ecosystem does marketing pretty poorly. And I think it all comes down to aging up. And what I mean by that is we're still, and look, I spoke to numerous different people in the Stacks community with our agency Chainsaw. I spoke to people within the Stacks Foundation. I spoke to literally every single layer of Stacks you can possibly say, and it's still being run like a new project. And without insulting anybody at all, it almost feels a bit like a university project that hasn't quite broken out of the university sphere. We all know it's great.
100%.
We all know it's perfect, but it's just not quite there yet. And I'm speaking to projects that have raised decent money in the Stacks ecosystem, and they have zero marketing budget. They have someone who would be classed as a junior in any serious business running their whole marketing comms. And because of that, they will not get the growth that's required. I think, unfortunately, within the Stacks ecosystem, there is a disrespect for what marketing can do to the area. And I've spoken to numerous different levels. One part of me believes that Stacks doesn't actually want the attention yet, which may sound really strange to say out loud, but I kind of half think they don't want the attention yet because they don't want to have millions of new users come running to the project, testing out all the interfaces and potentially breaking it. They kind of want to level up slowly. That's the only way I can possibly think about. I've pitched ideas to every level. Like I said, I mean, I've got an agency, a web 2 agency, decent size in the UK and Europe. And we do a lot with location marketing. And I kind of see the crypto world very similar as location marketing. And to give you an idea how location marketing works, for example, Visit England will get a load of cash from the government, right? And then Visit England will go, we need a few of extra people in Derbyshire. Let's give some money to Visit Derbyshire. And then Visit Derbyshire go away and they build a really nice marketing campaign, and they bring people to the table to utilize to go to Visit Derbyshire. And I pitched a very similar idea to the Stacks ecosystem. I said, I think Stacks should be actually bringing some marketing spend to the table and giving it to projects. So, for example, if we think that the main product we want that needs some attention is Alex, the Stacks ecosystem could be going, okay, cool, Alex, if you're going to run a marketing campaign, you can fill this form in, have a quick call with us, and we can actually deploy marketing collateral for your brand, for your business within the Stacks ecosystem. So we don't actually really care whether people use Stacks or not. We want people to use the products within the Stacks ecosystem. So I've had all these conversations with everybody, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And I genuinely think it's because they're not quite ready yet. I think they know that they want to build. And when this bull market comes, maybe next year or the year after, they want to be in a place to turn on the floodgates. And I think they're a bit wary of doing that right now.
I think that you're 100% correct, or at least I can say I 100% agree with you. My take on it. Go ahead.
The thing is, Jack, just to zoom out again, if you look at, so I was looking at when I was kind of building Chainsaw out and looking at the opportunities and stuff in the space. Someone like Casa, the multi-sig wallet, for example, we're recruiting a head of marketing role, and the salary was $300,000, and it worked anywhere in the world. Binance, very similar for a senior marketing manager. Stacks brands, you're looking at like $30K.
Right.
So now don't get me wrong. There's a huge difference in the market. There's a huge difference in the amount raised. But if that doesn't understand the market doesn't actually want the marketing awareness yet, it just wants to build, then I don't think anything else does, you know?
No, and you're right. I think a big part of it is look, these people who work on the main chain especially are academics in the strictest sense of the word, and they're extraordinarily good at what they do. And but they don't understand the culture of how to, how you communicate with crypto natives, right? They don't understand, I mean, most of the stuff that happens in a stacked ecosystem happens in a forum, right? And then, they have a Discord, but so that's part of it. I could see that. And then the other part I agree with is, look, speaking to someone, and I'm sure Pulscer will I'd get him to chime in on this, get his input. But if you're trading, if you're actively trading, if there's this absolute euphoria in the market and everyone has got the high levels of FOMO, and you know, stacks can't handle that right now. They cannot handle DeFi summer on stacks. You just, they just can't. They can shortly, right? I mean, we're looking at the Nakamoto release. We're looking at SBTC. We're going to have much faster transaction times and be able to handle a lot more. But I do think you're right. It's been a, hey, let's keep our nose to the grindstone. Let's build this out. Let's have this core community, and we have our builders, and let's keep going. And it does create a lot of frustration for people who are just retail, or even people within the communities themselves that have put a lot of work in, and they're like, okay, when marketing. So I think you're right. I think it's partially culture, and it's a lot to do with, okay, look, we're not ready for the spotlight just yet, and that's okay, because I mean, I came into stacks I think April of 22. Uh, it wasn't ready then, but you could see the potential, and that was enough to stick around and be like, these people are really onto something. I mean, even now with ordinals, people who are Bitcoiners are just starting to come around to, hey man, it'd be really cool if we had like Ethereum on Bitcoin. Why don't we try to build it with an ordinal? No, dumbass, it already exists. Like we've already got this. We've got other layer twos who are, who are working on this. Bitcoin does not need to do all that. It's going to become unaffordable for people to try to do these applications. Why not use smart contracts? But
But
yeah.
don't get me wrong, Jack. It's gonna get there. It
Oh yeah,
will
100%.
age up. Like it's my second biggest bag. It's, I literally only hold Bitcoin and stacks. Like it's gonna get there. It just needs to age up, and
Right.
when it ages up, when people start utilizing it, you'll start getting people want to work in that space, and you'll start getting the marketeers and the builders from all the shit coins and from the exchanges move across to them. That's just what will happen, right? Because it'll be the new shiny thing. I'm convinced that the next bull run is going to be a DeFi Bitcoin bull run. I'm convinced on it. And there's only one place where that logically makes sense, and that's within the stacks ecosystem. So I think for a lot of people like us, we're entrepreneurs, we're very driven individuals. We want it to happen tomorrow. But actually, the best thing for everybody's bag is, let's focus on it. I spoke to some of the builders and some of the people at the foundation. They're like, look, mate, we just want to make sure the chain keeps working. We want to roll out the next update. That's all we care about right now. And I get that, like fundamentally get it. But yeah, you're right. Like,
oh,
when
100%, dude. The fact is, I mean, and Pulscer has been trading, around the same amount of time I have. I can't tell you how many things I bought in 2018 that weren't ready for prime time, that are, if I just would have held on to those bags, if I would have known enough to just understand what I was doing and held these things with convictions, you're talking about absolutely life-changing money, right? That you just wound up selling for a 2x or 3x or something, instead of the multiples that went on to print. But but yeah, that's where Stacks is. I mean, I agree with that, and I have, yeah, I like you. It's my second biggest bag as well. I do very little on Ethereum anymore, and I'm someone who, pre-Stacks, the Ethereum is what I did most of everything on, and so as a trader, Pulsar, do you look at, because Bitcoin makes sense to you, not just as a price action but just as a technology.
Yeah.
When you're looking to trade, are you looking at solely price action, or are you looking at, okay, this narrative has staying power, this technology has staying power? What do you kind of, because someone just coming into this, there's just so many tickers and so many things, and I think that's one of the things that I had trouble with when I first got started, and
Yeah.
I think it's most people do. So what all do you evaluate when you decide that you're going to trade a crypto product, if you trade anything outside of the majors, right?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, obviously, anything that I would trade would be ultimately to get a bigger Bitcoin bag. I'm not looking to hold pretty much anything other than Bitcoin long term, to be honest with you. The way the market works is very cyclical in terms of the way money moves.
Right.
So it's not. I mean, yes, you can get DeFi summer, you can get all these other narratives. Narratives are very, very strong, but they don't often last very long at all. You can get this real influx of capital, and then within a few weeks you could be coming down the other side of it. So narratives are very strong. We saw it, yeah, with DeFi summer in the last bull run, but it's over the long haul it doesn't outperform Bitcoin. It may peak. There'll be peaks and troughs, but over the long haul, everything that you want to trade needs to be converted back into Bitcoin. But essentially, when you're looking at these other alts, one tactic is obviously just to accumulate them in the hope that it's going to go up, but you're pretty much just opening CoinGecko and trying to throw a dart at a board. It's very difficult to build a big enough bag in something, and for that bag to go 20x in the bull run is very difficult. So I think for me, I try and follow the money, if you will, and that money often starts with Bitcoin. Generally, via cycles, you get a big pump in Bitcoin dominance, and you get all the capital flowing into Bitcoin. It's actually quite a good reference point now, because where we've just had a pump in Bitcoin, we're ranging, and I spoke about this on Twitter actually recently, where you get a big move in Bitcoin and you start ranging, capital starts rotating into other alts and into other projects. Now, to determine which alts and which projects are going to capture that capital is another question.
Right.
That's the tricky part, and that's where you've sort of got to think about it. But generally, it flows into large caps, and then you get some influx into the small caps. When that happens, you generally get a manipulation of a move in Bitcoin, and then the price action follows the other way. So, yeah, in terms of picking alts, it's very, very difficult. All you
It's
need to
true.
do is basically you need to research the project, like Stacks is everybody's researched that project on this panel. It is a good project, and it's a good bet for the next bull run, being that it's built on Bitcoin especially. But once you start digging into these minor low cap coins, it's basically degenerate gambling at that point.
Right. Yeah. No, it's facts. I mean,
You might hit a 50x or you might lose all your money. But yeah, I think the most important thing that people don't realize, and the way that most people get wrecked, is that they don't convert their profits into Bitcoin. So when the bear market hits, they get absolutely destroyed, and they're there left
yeah.
they're there left holding sort of 1/10 of a bag that they could have had if they'd have just held Bitcoin. You see, even large caps, even ADA. You look at the ADA chart versus Bitcoin; it's
Right.
down 80-90%.
Oh yeah.
It's you've got to move with the market. Unfortunately, you can't just say, I believe in this project, I'm going to hold it through thick and thin. Particularly if you're a trader, that is, it's not going to work for you. You have to follow the money and rotate around with it.
If you're watching this right now and you're relatively new to all this, just go back and rewind this when it's on YouTube and listen to that part again. You will save yourself so much pain, because even when you try to anticipate that move from the Bitcoin to the mid caps or the other large caps, it's hard to do. I've learned after all this time that I don't start if I'm trying to trade. I don't start until I see trend reversals, because look, the highs in a bull market, they go a lot higher than you anticipate them to. You can look at it, and you're like, "Oh man, that looks overbought." Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You'll still have that God candle, and you'll just be sitting there crying because you rotated into from Bitcoin into whatever cap, whatever coin, and now you're just stuck. And like, okay, well now I'll just wait for this turn. Well, guess what? You might wait for months before that thing does anything other than bleed. So
I think it's worth, just to throw a counter into this, I think it's worth also mentioning that not all of us are born to trade, and I certainly am not. Like I dabble and I lose. Like that's kind of how it works. And all I've ever done is just buy Bitcoin every single week since 2016, and I've done well from that, right?
And
And
that
for a lot of people,
that's the only thing that I will ever like tell a maxi that I appreciate about them. Like if people listen to Bitcoin maxis just in that respect, just like, hey, if you just bought Bitcoin, just do that, you'll be fine. It's true. And you're right. Not everyone is meant to trade. For trading is very, very intense, and it's hard to beat algorithms. It's really, really just like Pulscer said, you're not supposed to win. You're supposed to lose money when you do it. Um, but it is a lot of fun for those of us who do like to do it. So it's a hard. I'm kind of lucky. The U.S. has nerfed just every trading exchange that I ever used. So I haven't been able to trade much recently. I'm waiting for the DeFi platforms, the decentralized ones, to really kick off. Speaking of that, CMP, you've been in this space a long time. You've been in Stacks a long time. You're one of the first people in the Stacks ecosystem I followed. Just kind of chime in on what we've been talking about here with the future of Stacks, where it's going, and your perspective on on not just the marketing part of Stacks, but just where you think we're headed here. I think we're probably looking at a bull run, 24, 25, somewhere around there. So just tell me where your head's at.
Sure. So I think first things first, to the point of dollar cost averaging, time in the market is always better than timing the market. So there's something to be stated about that. Love teaching people that, yes, you don't have to, get one full Bitcoin. Maybe you don't have 30K lying around just randomly. So with that, dollar cost average, and love that. I preach that for sure. And I also practice it. Now, from the standpoint of Stacks in general, I believe that we are at an inflection point as an ecosystem, having very robust conversations, having conversations that some might see as spicy, but are necessary for the standpoint of growth. Because how do you, harvest? You have to generally prune, you have to rip things off in order for growth to take place and for people to move forward in a growing trajectory. So there's something to be stated about some of the conversations that are being had. I don't think they're happening from a place of maliciousness or from mercenaries. I think people genuinely care and they see the potential. When I read the white paper of Stacks, I had that same feeling like when I read the Bitcoin white paper, not in a competitive sense, but in a complementary sense. And I truly believe that we have some of the brightest minds on earth in our ecosystem. I truly believe that.
100%.
So when people speak from our ecosystem, I always tune in. Even if I don't necessarily agree or subscribe 100% to it, I always listen from the standpoint of respecting. Now, I think that there's something to be stated about this inflection point. Anyone that's ever scaled a startup from maybe a few $100 monthly to a few $1,000s monthly, and then, you know, trying to add more numbers and digits to that equation, there are certain things that you have to do in order to ensure that there's healthy growth or responsible growth taking place. People want growth more times than not that's unsustainable. And at those rates, you generally crash out and burn. But if you have a proper cadence where you go up from the standpoint of output, from the standpoint of marketing, from the standpoint of all of the necessary pieces, that's where you really, really have a chance to win and have staying power. So I think more than anything, the ecosystem has an opportunity for staying power, because with people who are more layer one founders and layer one focused, they're looking at extending Bitcoin innovation. With L2 founders, they're more times than not looking for a place to scale and bring users to.
All right.
And we saw that example with ordinals. So even with us building as an ecosystem, once the ordinals movement really began, the ecosystem was ready. Satoshables created Ordinals Bot, Gamma, they killed it from their rollout, from the standpoint of L1, catering to L1, doing Ordinals drop with Bitcoin Magazine, starting out as in Stacks Marketplace. Who would have ever thought that that was possible?
Right.
And then Xverse and Hero and all of the other rollouts that are happening, BRC20 catering, Alex. So from the standpoint of building, that part of the thesis, I think will always ring true. Builders win,
Right.
period. Now it's just a matter of like the leveling up, so that once things do get to that point of critical mass where people are trying to scale using L1 opportunities and they see, wait a minute, I might be slightly constricted with mini script. What's this Clarity thing that I hear about in the Stacks ecosystem? Wait, we can build Lightning apps that interact with Clarity and scale things. Oh, this could be big. And that's where the draw, I think, is really going to come from. So that's a really long-winded way of me saying I believe in the ecosystem. I believe in the people that are building, that are doing things in the ecosystem. Bitcoin Frontier Fund, they had their demo day recently. Cohort 3 they're full of some snipers, man.
Yeah.
Holy moly. So I'm excited about what's coming. Really, really excited about what's coming.
John Ennis from NeoSwap says it best. He says that Stacks has the highest talent stack he's ever seen. You know, just it's incredible, and it's true. And then speaking to your point about when ordinals became a thing, the Stacks builders were there to onboard so many people like myself who do not know how to interact at that technical level to actually get in on the price action, right? To actually get in on what's happening. And you have all of these builders who are at the ready, who just made all that happen and just exploded ordinals. And it speaks to the vision of the Stacks team and the Stacks founders who saw this moment coming way before everyone else. And when you really get down to it in terms of taking advantage of life-changing opportunities, you know, like you saw with Web 2 and now you're seeing with Web 3, that is the key, is being able to actually participate and be an early adopter. And Stacks made, you know, all of these different Stacks teams made that possible almost immediately, which was, it was mind-blowing for anyone who didn't understand that Stacks was truly an adjunct to Bitcoin in so many ways. The ease in which Satoshables and Hero and Xverse and NeoSwap and all of these teams were able to just jump on and build, that was a very visceral demonstration of that relationship between, you know, layer 1 and layer 2 Stacks. And since you're I just want your opinion, because I know this is a matter of labeling, but do you consider Stacks to be a layer 1.5, layer 2? How do you think about that?
Great question. Operates as and is moving towards fully by way of the Nakamoto release as an L2. The unique relationship, I mean, being in this space, knowing about stacking, and people haven't even found out really about the stacking piece, which is going to be a huge unlock for so many people looking for yield. that isn't like what comes in the Ethereum space, where you might get yield in a token, but then what happens when that goes down. But with stacks, you get yield in Bitcoin, which is amazing and it's decentralized. But from the standpoint of the question, ultimately, I believe it operates as and fully is moving towards by way of the Nakamoto release and L2. And I also wanted to just take it a step further. I think as an ecosystem, we need to understand that whether we're technical, whether we're entrepreneurial, or whether we just are really good at community engagement, we all are necessary in order for a decentralized ecosystem to be a reality, truly. Whether you're Hero Gamer, whether you're Andre, whether you are whether you're Pulscer or Harry or myself, like we're all needed in order for this to work. So, shout out obviously to the Stacks Foundation, shout out to Trust Machines, shout out to everyone that is at this critical point within the ecosystem, and they're applying pressure. They're putting their foot to the gas so that releases like SBTC and like Nakamoto release can really come to a head. And people such as myself, Harry, Pulscer, we can take advantage and help cater to people from the standpoint of, hey, entrepreneurs are actually building companies here. Developers are building here. Traders, this is something you might want to take a look at. So at the end of it all, like we all are needed for this L2 to really make it. So I think we are going to make it. I truly do. But it's not about just what some people are looking at. I think it really is down to the nitty gritty of a concept. When I think of Bitcoin, I think of freedom. When I think of stacks, I think of scale.
Right. Oh man, that's beautiful. That's so true. And everything you just said rings true. And that was, as someone who's gotten a space and was like, okay, there's opportunity here. As I've matured in the space, I found myself wanting to figure out how to contribute, and being someone who's non-technical, it was very difficult to see how that would actually play out and take shape. And
Jack,
when I found stacks,
sorry, man, I just that reminded me of something. So CMP said there about stacking and the importance of stacking. I had a conversation with the guy that got me into Bitcoin originally, and he, serious OG, like old school. And he said the most interesting thing about the stacks ecosystem and stacks itself is actually stacking. And the reason behind it is he believes the average Joe won't be able to even compete in the mining world soon enough. And the only way they'll be able to get any sort of, any return from their effort or any kind of from their investment will be stacking. So he actually believes that the average normie miner will have to move to stacking, and that's why he's buying stacks. As he said, he thinks that's kind of like the new way in for many normies.
Oh yeah,
1,000%.
Yeah, proof of transfer. Yeah, I mean, proof of transfer is a completely novel consensus mechanism, and like you said, CMP, people don't even fully understand that yet. It's that's how you know you're early.
It's so crazy because even speaking with some venture funds and whatnot, I truly believe that this is going to be a tool that those people love. Like, could you imagine if BlackRock starts stacking? You know what I mean? Like, what a signal that would be. And then on top of that, you have all of these sovereign wealth funds. You have these pensions where they've been hit by the FTXs, the Lunas, and people understand, like, okay, you can have various precautions set up on charts, but like you have to also have precautions set up on human greed. So how do you safeguard that in a decentralized space where there's still like this wild west aspect of it? And there are certain jurisdictions where like they're doing it better than others. I won't put certain countries in the mix, but I have a few that come to mind.
I will 100%.
Yes,
100%. Bro, literally, I'm in a flat in Dubai right now, and I'm currently in the office space. On the ground floor, there is a Bitcoin buy and sell station where there's literally a desk, and you can walk in with $1 million cash, and you can buy Bitcoin. You can also do it the other way around, cash only.
Yep.
This is Dubai.
Yep.
There's also I think it's the biggest, and this is all rumors, obviously, but this fucking place, there's the biggest mining rigs in the world are in the desert, and they're being powered by the sun. I mean, like this for me is always crazy. You know, a lot of the crypto space is very much focused on America, and look, I get it, I understand the reasons why. But when you start just thinking about what these nations are doing over here, and they don't talk about it because they don't need to talk about it. Why would, if Dubai and Saudi Arabia talk about it, it pushes the price up. They just want to accumulate. They're sat here right now accumulating. They don't need to talk about it. You know, I saw a Twitter thread the other day where they're like, you know, Michael Saylor's stacking Bitcoin. We should be concerned by it. I'm like, bro, you don't even, the amount of anonymous nations that are stacking, like buying Bitcoin right now and holding it, you don't even know. Like, this is, like,
that's a fact.
Are so clueless that they don't even understand. Like, the race has happened. It started before the ETF. It started before this year. Like, these nations, especially the BRICS nations and the nations that have been crushed by America, let's be real, for so many years, this is their way out. This is the way out.
Yeah.
You know, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, they had the oil reserves. They've now built thriving nations. And now what they do? Well, let's opt out of the dollar. I'm waiting for the dirham to depeg from the dollar. I'm just waiting for it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, we're speaking for the U.S. I'll speak for all of the U.S. right now. We've lost the plot on especially where crypto is concerned, and it's out of this sense of protectionism for these established banks. I mean, the fact of the matter is this is called the We Are Ready podcast because we are ready to get from under that central banking system. We're ready for a decentralized world. We're ready for more freedom. We're ready to have more power as individuals at the expense of the centralized powers that exist now. When you get right down to it, when you've gone down this rabbit hole far enough, you have to come to that point, because that's the point that Bitcoin makes sense. And we're a clown show, and that's okay, because the nation state as we understand it probably isn't going to exist later on in my kids' lives. Definitely probably not by my grandkids' lives, right? So I think that you come to that point anyway. So yeah, the US is clown shoes in this regard, and really one day it's going to be like you turn on the TV and there's going to be 17 new El Salvadors, you know, who are
100%.
using, and that's when the tide has really turned, and that's
I think
where
America's
it's
already
ultimately headed.
forced.
Yeah,
I think that I think behind the scenes right now, the conversation's already had that, Gary, you've pushed us too far, mate. We're now getting behind the whole world. This is why BlackRock put the ETF. In my opinion, I think this conversation's actually already happened. I think you see, even the UK have done a bill saying, you know, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, like, it's already happened. The train has left the station, and America is now going to have to scramble so fast to even get close. And I honestly think, as soon as BlackRock put that ETF application, which I believe will be accepted, I mean, they have 245 days, I think, that they can keep kicking the can. But if they wanted to reject it, they'd have rejected it. I think it was yesterday when they said there's something not quite right in this file. They could have rejected it then and there. They didn't. That to me means they are prepared to accept this. If they accept this, this means a conversation has already happened behind the scenes that has said, what the hell are you doing, Gary? Get your act, get your ship in order. And when this ETF moves forward, there'll be trillions going into it, and they'll have to do something about it.
no, I agree. It's interesting times, man, and I really hope to see the US get its act together in more than one way, because when you get right down to it, a lot of the problems that we're having in this country are problems caused by fiat currency. And again, it's just one of those things that as you go and as you learn, you start to understand that this isn't just a soundbite. This is just facts. We have a whole country full of fiat related problems, and we're coming here close to the end. So starting with you, Pulscer, let's just go ahead and just, again, without giving away your personal alpha, I don't want you to lose your edge, brother. Just what are you kind of looking at right now? Just you're looking at your mid caps, you're looking strictly at Bitcoin. Where's your head at?
I mean, I'm in a position from much lower with regards to Bitcoin. I mean, ultimately, I think we're going to go to 48K. I think a lot of people are going to overshoot with what they think about this ETF. I think it's going to generate a lot of hype, and people are going to get wrecked around 50K, to be honest with you, expecting it to go higher. I think we're in a 2019 type move where we've probably got a month left. I think 50K, 48K by the end of July, and then sideways until pretty much the new year, slowly creeping up until the halving. So I think it's a Bitcoin market. However, I think with the kickback on the ETF filings, that ETH could probably see a run to at least yearly highs at 2.1K, whilst Bitcoin ranges here. But ultimately, the next Bitcoin move is around the corner. So I think that's your best play rather than trying to capture something else. So yeah, I think Bitcoin here is a great purchase. Like I say, volatility is at pretty much all-time lows right now. The big move is still yet to happen, and we're sitting at 30K. So I feel like we could run it up to 50K in pretty much one candle, and you'll likely miss it if you're not in. So whilst I think there will be some capital rotation, we've already seen it with Litecoin. I think, to be honest, you're best fixed with Bitcoin right now, and I wouldn't stray too far away from that until April 2024. To be honest with you, after the halving, I'd stick with Bitcoin up until that pump there, and then rotate. But yeah, I think Bitcoin right now. Also important, if you are trading, map out your strategy. A lot of people get wrecked when they don't execute their trading plan that they've actually set out for themselves without fear. It's very important to act on what you believe is going to happen. Otherwise, there's no point even trading at all. But yeah, right now, stick with Bitcoin. The move is right around the corner. It could happen this month. And yeah, I think sideways once the move happens, to be honest with you. I also think that holding rate hikes is likely bearish on the price, just because of the future uncertainty. If the Fed would have hiked in June, I think it would have been better for the Bitcoin price, as we would have likely stepped down from there. But being that we've had the pause, there is probability that they probably continue to hike over the next couple of months. So I don't think we exceed 50K. I've seen people talking all-time high before halving. I don't think that happens, unfortunately. I don't think what Balanji says has come true. So there we go.
I think that for one, you brought it up, discipline. If you're not going to DCA, which is probably the best way for most people, but if you're going to actually trade, you have to make rules for yourself. You have to know what your strategy is, and you have to stick to it. And that is the hardest part. It's a whole different area of discipline that you have to develop. I would like to schedule a just an all trading episode one day, and I hope you'll come back on and be a part of that panel. I think that would be really cool. We definitely appreciate your insights.
There's a lot I can say in terms of trading strategy that we haven't touched on. So yeah, I'm sure we can do that. That'll be good.
Yeah, it would be awesome. CMP, you got some parting words for us, brother?
Well, first and foremost, just to be on this panel with all these gigabrains is super dope. I love that. Secondly, thank you for all the work that you do. Just personally, just kind of walking people through, always watching tweets. Even if I'm like kind of too busy to like engage, I'm always on Twitter checking things out. And I love to see the things that you do. So definitely shout out to you. At the end of it all, man, like just Bitcoin and stacks. Those are the only two that are really on my mind. Building things for the sake of impacting the world and making Bitcoin easier for people. So the book is just one aspect of it. Actually doing a world tour starting later this month. Few cities in the States, and then touching London, touching Africa, specifically South Africa. And who knows, Harry commented and said something about Dubai. So you never know, might pull up out there too. But just staying focused on educating, building things, making things easier for people. And I really, really think that we as an ecosystem are going to make it. We just got to level up when we need to, have good conversations, and just keep building. You know, builders build. So let's ship. Let's keep building.
Yeah, dude, that's I'm so I can't wait to read your book. I'm so excited for it. I think that again, it is something so necessary for going forward, because this is a big learning curve. It's a foreign concept to a lot of people, and I just absolutely fantastic. If there's anything I can do to help out, I'll advertise it on my website. You know, any of those things, just let me know. I'll add links. Um, just because it is a massive tool for adoption. I mean, because it's going to be a sad day for a lot of people, that hypothetical day that we know is coming, when you have 17 El Salvadors overnight and people still don't know how to get Bitcoin or what it is. And it's just, will have missed out on one of the greatest wealth building opportunities of all time. So I believe in what you're doing strongly, and I appreciate you coming on today. And I hope you'll come back one day. And Harry, any parting words for us, man?
I mean, I think Pulscer said something great there, which is, have your plan and execute it. And my plan's been just DCing for all of eternity, and it's served me well. And I remember seeing Pulscer's play, it was about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, where, everybody was bearish, I think. Everybody, apart from one man on my Twitter feed. And
Right.
it was like, honestly, bro, it was the most crazy thing I've ever seen. It hit it to perfection. And then like 2 days ago, you're like, this is going down again. And it went, and everyone was bullish. It went down. So like, I think, I'm pretty sure, Pulscer, you could have changed your narrative from crypto Twitter. So well done for holding that. And then to both kind of, Jack and CMP, man, like, we often look in the crypto space and we see these real big names. We see, CZ, and we see, SPF in his time. And we often look at these people as the people that are driving adoption. I've never really believed in that narrative. I've always been a fan of what I call the niche influencer, the individual within a small community that is building and onboarding individuals. And I've always said in all my marketing kind of chats and talks is become a niche influence, become somebody who is within a small area but gets known by a lot of people. They're the biggest impactful plays. And I think both of you are doing that. And I think that, in the future, you could be well known as the people that got the first early momentum for the Stacks community. Jack, you've been in the game a while now within Stacks, and you've onboarded people, you've onboarded me, I understood what was going on from reading your stuff. And I think you don't get a big enough applause, mate, for what you're doing. So first and foremost, that's incredible work. And then for anyone else listening, look, I'm in Dubai. I'm semi-retired to a degree. I have time in my hands, man. Like I'm not in here. I've done all right. I've done all right. So I'm not in here to milk a project. So if anybody needs some marketing advice or support or help, send me a Twitter DM or drop me an email, harry@chainsaw.ae, and look, I'll help out free of charge. All I want is just to help the community. Genuinely, all I want is to help the community. And I think that it just needs to age up slightly. And if I can help it age up, then that's my part. That's my part that I'm talking about that you're doing right now, Jack.
No, I appreciate that immensely, because that's what I set out to do. I believe in this space. I believe in what's going on here, and all I really wanted to do is figure out how I could contribute. So that means a lot to me. And if you've watched this, like it, retweet it, comment on it, because this is great content. This is the kind of content that people need to hear. And it's hard to get recognition out there when you've got every kind of idiot buying followers and influencers and this and that, and most of it's garbage. So the people who watch this, who really care about this space, who really want to learn, there was so much alpha in this episode, it's ridiculous. And that's what we're going to keep on bringing. And so a big sincere thank you for everyone for joining us today. This fantastic episode. I hope you're all willing to come back here in the future. And that's it. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.